At the Madlanga Commission, almost everybody expected Paul O'Sullivan to humiliate Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi with his explosive allegations. But within moments, the hearing took a dramatic turn as tough questions put those claims under intense scrutiny. Instead of Mkhwanazi, Paul O'Sullivan was then humiliated, and what happened next left many viewers stunned. Watch this clip carefully. Please subscribe to the channel for more sharp updates. Hey Mzansi, roll the clip.
In paragraph 1.6.2, you say this gentleman is alleged to have gifted. Do you know who makes these allegations? Do you know who the source of the allegations?
Say again, I didn't catch you.
Paragraph 1.6.2 on page 17 of your statement.
Yep.
The name of the gentleman is mentioned there, and
Mr.
you say
Kistia.
yes, it is he's alleged to have gifted expensive
It's what's
bags.
in the article.
So you're relying on the article.
I'm relying on the article, and that's why I'm saying this is from the article. Mr. Kistia is alleged to have gifted these Louis Vuitton bags.
But you don't know who makes the allegations. You don't know who the source is.
Commissioner, if you look at the article, it doesn't give a name.
No, I'm asking you, Mr. O'Sullivan, forget about the article. I'm asking you sitting here today. Do you know who makes the allegations, or who is the source that makes the allegations?
My understanding, and I've put it here in my statement, is that it was Brigadier Rass, a female brigadier who went on the journey with them. And that's on page 18.
Where he references annexures S1 and S2, Commissioner.
Yeah. So my understanding is that Brigadier Rass was also given a Louis Vuitton bag, but when she returned to South Africa, she handed it in because she said she didn't want it, because she knew that Inbanat and Kistia either was going to be charged, or she knew that there was a corrupted relationship. Inbanat and Kistia is currently on trial with General Pashlani for corruption, involving vast sums of money, millions and millions.
I just wanted to make sure that you are not attributing to her things she did not say.
Yeah. Sorry?
Did she say that, or is that what you assume she said?
I received information that she was on that trip, and she handed the bag in. I've never spoken to her.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, Mr. O'Sullivan. I'm looking at what Commissioner Khumalo just referred you to in paragraph 1.6.2. Where Commissioner Khumalo just referred you to, 1.6.2, the part that says, however, I was able to later confirm the allegations from a source. It seems a female brigadier, that's the brigadier you referred to. I think you gave a name just now, or not?
Correct.
Yes.
It's on the next page.
Yes. The brigadier was on the trip to Europe and also received a bag which she then handed to IDEC. I'm comparing that with what appears in the article that you say is your basis for...
That doesn't appear here.
Yeah, because at page 335, here's what the article says, the third paragraph at 335. I'm reading the last sentence. The two, that is General Masemula and General Mkhwanazi.
So which paragraph?
The third paragraph at page 335.
Yes.
I'm reading the second sentence, which is the last sentence of that paragraph. It says the two returned home with luxurious bags, while their colleague, I assume the colleague is the brigadier, or not?
So, Commissioner, in my opinion, this story is possibly slightly wrong, because my understanding is that the person that was snubbed wasn't snubbed, but also got a Louis Vuitton bag and brought it back to South Africa and handed it in with a sworn statement.
Also, that part of the article is wrong.
Pardon?
So that part of the article is wrong?
Yes.
Oh, all right. I just wanted to check that because you
That's
basically...
my understanding, Commissioner. Yeah.
Can I just clarify from your response, the question and response by Commissioner Khumalo, and your reference to that Brigadier Russ, your statement as it reads does not say she reported General Masemula and Mkhwanazi. Yes. The point I'm making is that as recent as January 2026, where he prepares an affidavit, he doesn't say anything about General Mkhwanazi approaching him to interfere as a measure to interfere in the Patlane investigation. In fact, at paragraph 18, he says, our sense was that he was trying to fish to get me to tell him what I knew. He doesn't say about what, but he has opportunity in January to say more on these earlier affidavits, and in particular that he felt, even if it's just I felt, he was speaking to me, or he wanted me to interfere, or he was interfering in the Patlane investigation. He doesn't say that. So my question really is, if we rely on these two affidavits, well, including the recent one, so all three, two drafts and this latest affidavit, there isn't anything in it that speaks to the very specific topic you're speaking to, which you say this is evidence of interference.
So,
and unless I misunderstand your evidence, I thought what you're saying is this is evidence of interference.
These documents themselves would not amount to evidence on their own of the interference. They would have to be read together with the High Court cases that took place at the time, where IPID launched urgent application to stop police interference in their investigation into Patlane. And they were successful in that they got an order that the police must not do a counter-investigation. Now, I was on the ground at this moment in time, so I knew what was going on. So I knew that this related to Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, said, by the way, Cedric Nkabindi. If you look at this, Commissioner, you will see that he does mention that Mkhwanazi was fishing to see what he could find out about Robert McBride and Paul O'Sullivan. And my only involvement with Robert McBride at that moment in time was the Patlane investigation. I had no other involvement. That was it, short and sweet. So it's hard to draw that conclusion, I agree with you, but I do believe it's warranted, if possible, to either get the gentleman in or have one of the investigators take a more detailed sworn statement from him.
Isn't the problem with that proposal that let me start. I can understand when you say you were on the ground, and because you were on the ground, you are able to draw connections between this approach to IPID and what you knew was happening on the ground, including that the Patlane, General Patlane matter was taking life. So I can see, I'm prepared to accommodate that in your connection of the dots, that's the picture it creates. The difficulty, at least for me, is we have a statement here we have that unsigned affidavit where Mr. Kuba makes no reference to the Patlane matter. And that is compounded by that as recently as January 2026, he gets to prepare another affidavit that attaches the unsigned one, and he doesn't speak to,
no, exactly.
He doesn't make that allegation.
No, I fully agree with you. If I was involved in the preparation of this statement in January 2026, I would have crossed the T's and dotted the I's and made it crystal clear what it was involved in.
Yeah.
We know for a fact that Cedric Nkabindi left IPID, tried to join the police as a brigadier, and I wrote to General Sitoli at the time, and I said I would bring a court application if he's appointed in the police. So we know that was the status with Cedric and Kabindi. At the end of the day, this is crying out for further, shall we say, investigation. I understand that on its own, it's not a smoking gun, but I do believe there is a smoking gun to be had here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All of 1.2 out because it's just, it's common course. But I've underlined a couple of important portions. 1.2.3, I've said Mr. Agliotti made his immoral living out of importing and exporting narcotics and counterfeit cigarettes. He often moved drugs and/or counterfeit cigarettes with a police escort arranged by a certain Captain Paul Stammet. Captain Stammet was not even a real police officer. He had been appointed by Commissioner Celebi at Mr. Agliotti's request. He was not even on the police's payroll system and had never undergone any police training or fitting out of uniform. But the sad part about it is he had a police identity badge that was issued by Commissioner Celebi. And then I've said Mr. Agliotti's other accomplices, and this is common cause, it's in the judgments which we'll refer to, include a security company owner, Mr. Clinton Nassif. Mr. Nassif also bribed Commissioner Celebi so that he could expedite the issue of firearm licenses for a security company. Mr. Nassif later supplied the same firearm that was used to murder Mr. Brett Kebbel in September 2005. Commissioner Celebi interfered in the investigation by allowing Mr. Kebbel's Mercedes, in which he was murdered, to be removed from Norwood Police Station by a brother-in-law of one of the murderers to a car body workshop where it was cleaned of all forensic trace evidence. And then I've attached, I refer on page 5 of my statement, I've referred to documents which are attached, which make sober reading. Annexure B1 is the first draft confession made by Mr. Agliotti to the Scorpions in his attempt to obtain indemnity in return for implicating Commissioner Celebi. Annexure B2 was the judgment of the High Court on sentencing Commissioner Celebi. And Annexure B3 is the judgment of the Supreme Court of Appeal dismissing the appeal of Commissioner Celebi against his sentence. And I think it's common cause, Commissioners, that the level of penetration was such, and it's made clear in Annexure B, which is referenced on page 4 at 1.2.7, it's made clear that the value of the drugs that were seized were 200 million rand. And those were seized by the what was then called the Scorpions, or the DSO, the Directorate for Special Operations. And that was based on information which I supplied to them at the time when I had infiltrated that drug cartel for the purpose of having those drugs seized. And it's documented on the Annexure B. Thank you, Commissioner.
And so if one has regard to your paragraph 1.2.3 and 1.2.4, where you make the conclusions that Mr. Celebi or Commissioner Celebi maintained relations with persons such as Mr. Agliotti and Captain Paul Stammet, who made an immoral living out of importing and exporting narcotics and counterfeit cigarettes. That's on the one. And Mr. Celebi, Commissioner Celebi rather, being bribed by one Mr. Clinton Nassif. Those facts you do not know, you don't have personal knowledge of, you derive from the documents that you listed, your paragraph 1.2.10. A reading of those documents will lead to the same conclusion.
In fact, I do have personal knowledge, but I've used the documents to prove that personal knowledge. In fact, the morning after Brett Kebbel was murdered, which I still, very distinct in my head, he was murdered on the 15th of September, 2005. And on the morning of the 16th of September, 2005, I met with a source at the McDonald's at Bruma who gave me the information about the gun that was used to kill Mr. Kebbel. So all that information is not not hearsay, but it happens to be contained in the court judgments. So it actually confirms my personal knowledge.
But for purposes of your testimony to the commission today, you rely on these documents specifically?
That is correct.
Thank you. Is there any other comment you'd like to make regarding the relationship between Commissioner Silebi and Mr. Agliotti before we turn to your paragraph 1.3, where you deal with another relationship?
Now, I'm really happy for the commissioners to, in their own time, to read the evidence and draw their own conclusions, because I believe it's quite compelling.
Yes. Then if we stay with your paragraph 5, your page 5 rather, at paragraph 1.3, you have a subtopic, Radovan Krecher, General Mabasa, and Colonel Steyn. Now, at page 6, you give quite an extensive background to this particular topic. It's at page 7, you then deal directly with the relationship between Mr. Krecher and General Mabasa on the one hand, and further on at page 9, you deal with Mr. Krecher and Colonel Steyn. So let's take it.
Let me just place on record that I was involved in a totally different capacity on issues relating to Mr. Agliotti, the matter of Mr. Brett Keppel, issues that related to Mr. Stemmet and even Mr. Nassif, but the context related to the decision that had been taken by Mr. Vusi Pikoli to prosecute General Silebi. And then Mr. Mshe, or Advocate Mshe, came in to replace Mr. Pikoli, but he was an acting NDPP. And this is how I then got involved. Advocate Mshe wanted to know whether or not he should reverse the decision of Advocate Pikoli. A 4-person panel was appointed to look at that decision by Mr. Pikoli and to pronounce on whether the 4 people were of the view that Mr. Pikoli was correct in taking the decision. I chaired that 4-person panel, and our decision was that Mr. Pikoli's decision was correct. I thought I should just place it on record that I had that involvement on some of the issues or some of the facts that you are touching on.
Thank you, Chair. Understood.
In fact, thank you, Commissioner, for that. I was fully aware of all that, so I'm grateful that you still have that memory at the time. And in some ways, it's rather unfortunate or coincidental that we are sitting here today in the college named after the then Justice Minister who